Hi, this is Christian, and welcome to NFL Updates Express, your weekly dose of NFL news. Coming up next, the season predictions for 2013. The 2013 season should be a good one. Pretty much every team is fighting for a playoff spot, except maybe the Jaguars, the Raiders, and the Jets. Every other team has a decent shot to get into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens during the season, but here are our predictions for the 2013 season. First up in our division predictions, we have the NFC West division, which may be one of the best divisions in football, if not the best. First, we start out with the number 1 seed, Seattle Seahawks, at a 13-3 record and a 5-1 divisional record. Coming in at the 5th seed is the San Francisco 49ers at an 11-5 record and a 3-3 divisional record. Coming in at 3rd place is the St. Louis Rams at a 7-9 record and a 4-2 divisional record. And the cellar dwellers, the Arizona Cardinals, at 3-13 and an 0-6 divisional record.
Hi, I'm Dylan, and thanks for watching NFL Updates Express. This is how the NFC West will end up by the end of this season. Seattle will make the playoffs with a 13-3 record and be seeded number 2. San Francisco will suffer from a Super Bowl hangover, which means the team that lost the Super Bowl will not make the playoffs and miss the playoffs. Arizona will miss the playoffs with a 3-13 record. Even with Larry Fitzgerald, it just can't be enough to power them into the playoffs. St. Louis will also miss the playoffs with a 1-15 record.
In my opinion, this may be the best division in football upcoming this year. But first I start out with Atlanta, the number 2 seed at a 12-4 record and a 4-2 divisional record. Next I have a big shocker in the NFC. This is Carolina at the number 6 seed and a 10-6 record with a 4-2 divisional record. Coming in 3rd place is the New Orleans Saints, coming in at 10-6 as well and a 3-3 divisional record. The tiebreakers will kill New Orleans in the end, and they'll fall half a game short of getting to the postseason. And coming in last place is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at a 5-11 record and a 1-5 divisional record. I think Freeman takes a step back and the Buccaneers pay the price. They'll miss out on the playoffs. I think all these teams have a legitimate shot to get to the playoffs if everything goes right though.
Next is the NFC South. This will be a tough division for all 4 of these teams. All of these teams have a shot of getting in the playoffs. But here's how they're going to stand. Carolina will make the playoffs and be seeded number 3 with a surprising 11-5 record. Atlanta will miss the playoffs at an 11-5 record, surprisingly. Next, we have New Orleans. New Orleans will actually miss the playoffs with a 10-6 record. And Tampa Bay will come in last with a 5-11 record and miss the playoffs.
Next, I have the NFC East division, easily one of the most competitive divisions in all of football. First, I have Washington at the number 3 seed with a 10-6 record and a 4-2 divisional record. Next, I have the Dallas Cowboys, again missing the playoffs, this time with a 1-game improvement at 9-7 and a 4-2 divisional record. Coming in at 3rd place is the New York Giants at 8-8 and a 2-4 divisional record. And the bottom of the barrel team will be the Philadelphia Eagles, even though they'll get some more improvement with a 7-9 record and a 2-4 divisional record. They could be the sleeper team of this division. The Eagles' future looks bright.
Next is the NFC East, which will be a tough division between Dallas, the Giants, and the Redskins. I think the Eagles will miss the playoffs with a 2-14 record. The dream team is just not going to happen. Dallas will finish with a 6-10 record and miss the playoffs. The New York Giants will miss the playoffs as well with a surprising 7-9 record. And last is the Redskins, who will make the playoffs seeded number 4 with a 10-6 record.
A very good division in the NFC North division is up next. First, we have a surprise with the Chicago Bears winning the division this time at a 10-6 record and a 3-3 divisional record, also claiming the number 4 seed in their conference. Next is a big shocker with Green Bay missing out on the playoffs at a 9-7 record and a 5-1 divisional record. Why does Green Bay miss the playoffs, you ask? Well, I don't think the defense is going to hold up. And if Aaron Rodgers regresses just a little bit, they might miss out. Next is another big shocker is the Detroit Lions at 9-7 and a 2-4 divisional record. And last is the Minnesota Vikings, who will take a big step back from second place to last place at a 7-9 record and a 2-4 divisional record.
Last in the NFC is the NFC North. This division is tough and really competitive, with the well-known rivalry between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. Chicago will make the playoffs and be seeded number 1 in the NFC with a 14-2 record. Green Bay will be seeded 5th with a 13-3 record. Last in the playoffs is Minnesota, who will be seeded number 6 in the NFC with a 12-4 record. Detroit will miss the playoffs with only a 5-11 record.
The first division I'll be talking about in the AFC is the AFC North division, a very, very, very competitive division. So first, we start out with the Cincinnati Bengals at the 3 seed and 11-5 record and a 4-2 divisional record. Next, we have the Baltimore Ravens, barely getting into the playoffs at the number 6 seed at a 10-6 record and a 5-1 divisional record. Next is the Pittsburgh Steelers at 8-8 and a 3-3 divisional record. And rounding out the division is the Cleveland Browns at 2-14 and an 0-6 divisional record.
The AFC North, the first division I will be talking about for the AFC. This division has 2 very good teams, the Bengals and the Ravens. Here's how this division will stand at the end of this season. Cincinnati will have a 13-3 record and make the playoffs, seeded number 3. Baltimore will be seeded number 6th in the playoffs and come in with a 10-6 record. Pittsburgh will miss the playoffs with a 7-9 record, and Cleveland will miss the playoffs as usual, even with Trent Richardson, with a 2-14 record.
Next up, the AFC West division. Now, this division will be competitive, except for maybe the Raiders. But first, we start out with the number 1 seeded Denver Broncos with a 14-2 record and a 5-1 divisional record. Next up, the Kansas City Chiefs at 8-8 and a 2-4 divisional record. Coming in at 3rd place is San Diego at 7-9 and a 3-3 divisional record. And rounding out the division is the Oakland Raiders at 2-14 and a 2-4 divisional record.
The AFC West. Not the greatest division there is. I mean, the Denver Broncos are good, but besides that, there's nothing much to it. The Denver Broncos will make the playoffs with a 15-1 record. Woohoo! The San Diego Chargers, with a 10-6 record, will miss the playoffs. Oh well. Kansas City, with a 6-10 record, will miss the playoffs as well, along with Oakland, who will finish with a 2-14 record. Like I said, this division just doesn't have the strength to make the playoffs, besides Denver.
Now we have the worst division in football. But first, we start out with the good team with the New England Patriots, with a 10-6 record and a 5-1 divisional record, at the number 4 seed in the AFC. Coming in next is Miami, with a 7-9 record and a 4-2 divisional record. The 3rd spot in the AFC East is the Buffalo Bills at 5-11 and a 3-3 divisional record. And finally is the New York Jets at a paltry 1-15 record and an 0-6 divisional record.
The AFC East, probably the worst division in football. I mean, seriously, besides New England, they're horrible. I mean, the Jets, Miami, and Buffalo can't get anything done. They're horrible. Anyway, New England will make the playoffs and be seeded number 4 with a 12-4 record. Pretty good, huh? Maybe this division won't be so bad. Oops, I forgot. There's still Miami, Buffalo, and New York Jets. Anyway, Miami, 5-11. No good. Buffalo, 4-12. No good. New York Jets, 1-15. Horrible. Man, this division.
Last but not least, we have the AFC South division. 2 elite teams, 2 awful teams. So first we start out with the Indianapolis Colts, who I think will do a lot better this year at a 13-3 record, and the number 2 seed in the AFC with a first round bye. Then we have the Houston Texans with a 5 seed and an 11-5 record. Then we have the Tennessee Titans at 4-12 and a 1-5 divisional record. And finally, we have Jacksonville with a 3-13 record and a 2-4 divisional record.
The AFC South is divided into a half that is great and a half that is... I don't really need to say anything more. But this is how it's going to go down. Houston will be seeded number 2 in the AFC and go 13-3. Indianapolis will make the playoffs and be seeded 5th with a record of 12-4. Jacksonville and the Titans will both miss. Jacksonville will have a 5-11 record, and Tennessee will have a 4-12 record. And that's probably how it's going to be for the next, 100 years. I mean, these teams are horrible, and that's really all there is to say.
I can't tell you the Super Bowl MVP just yet, but I can tell you the rest of the awards. Pete Carroll will be the Coach of the Year, Aaron Rodgers will be the Offensive Player of the Year, Darrelle Revis will be the Comeback Player of the Year, Peyton Manning will be the MVP of the league, Doug Martin will be the Fantasy Player of the Year, Luke Kuechly, yes, Luke Kuechly will be the Defensive Player of the Year, and if it's not him, it's obviously going to be J.J. Watt. Then the Offensive Rookie of the Year, E.J. Manuel. Yeah, I know that Manuel probably won't have a great season as a whole, I mean the Bills team, but I think he'll have a pretty good season. Then the Defensive Rookie of the Year will be Desmond Trufant, the cornerback from Washington.
Next up are my predictions for the award ceremony for the 2013-2014 NFL season. The Coach of the Year will be the Seattle Seahawks coach, Pete Carroll. The Defensive Player of the Year will be none other than Darrelle Revis. He won't be back to his former glory, but he'll still be good. The Defensive Player of the Year will be none other than J.J. Watt. This guy is a defensive machine. And on the same team is the Offensive Player of the Year, Arian Foster. The Defensive Rookie of the Year is Bakari Rambo of the Washington Redskins. And the Offensive Rookie of the Year is Eddie Lacy of the Green Bay Packers. The Fantasy Player of the Year will also be Doug Martin. And last but not least is Adrian Peterson as the NFL MVP.
Also, please tune in to our playoff predictions video.